Our guest tonight is WWE Hall of Famer and now movie star Shawn Michaels. How you doing?
Doing well. Movie star might be a bit of a stretch.
It's a start. It's a start. You got to start somewhere, you know?
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Well, speaking of the movie, on Friday, January 20th, the movie The Resurrection of Gavin Stone hits theaters. You play the role of Doug, a reborn ex-con turned volunteer mechanic. What made you want to take this role, and how did your own journey to God influence how you portrayed the character?
Well, it's sort of the same answer for both questions. I mean, it was the similarity in it that I felt that I could do it. Certainly for your first role, I guess in the theater of your mind, you'd like it to be something that's maybe not too far of a stretch, but does have some depth to it. Again, when I read the script, I enjoyed the entire thing. I thought it was great that it was funny, that they were having some fun at the expense of the church, and poking fun at some of the things that go on because it is funny, and I appreciated that sincerity and honesty about that. And then that it was, but it was a good, nice feel good story. I guess, gotten soft in my old age, and I still enjoy those types of movies. And so it was one of those things where if you think to yourself, well, gosh, in your first experience in an area that, clearly you don't have a lot of experience in, it'd be nice if you could do something where you'd be comfortable. And that's exactly what this was. So being a really good script and then being in a role where you felt like I can easily relate to that was I think all those things coming together. You say, well, this is an easy choice to make.
Well, I got to see The Resurrection of Gavin Stone already. It's very funny. I genuinely enjoyed it. My wife and I saw it. It's fantastic. But there are real lessons to be learned from this film. What messages do you hope the movie conveys to the audience, and what did you get out of the filming personally?
Well, personally, it honestly was the experience. Getting to sort of see how that world works. You can do television in the WWE for a long time and then do, outdoor television. But a movie is different. Especially, most of the television I've done has been a lot of improv, free and easy, and it's not very scripted. And I can mostly get away, so to speak, with darn near anything, and it seems to work. This was different in that respect. You're on a schedule. You've only got so much time to get it right. And your role is certainly more clearly defined. The Doug character can't be free and easy, can't fly by the seat of his pants because that's not who he is. So having to have discipline in that area was a very welcome and extremely fun challenge for me. And so from that, from the professional acting standpoint, that was what I learned. And of course, getting to be with some pretty, again, Brett Dalton's, I love the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and, I thought he was great in that. And Angela is, obviously amazing. So to be out there with people better than you, far better than you, is always a great learning experience. As far as what, the message of the film, honestly, there's a line in the movie that comes up a couple times where the characters say, this is what we do. And it's about honestly giving second chances, and that is something that obviously resonates with me, and so honestly for me, as simple as it sounds, that's the message of the film, is whether it's a second chance being extended to you, or you having to extend it to someone else. They're vital in the lives of people, second, third chances. And I know it's tough. It's sometimes tough to extend it as you've been hurt or whatever the case may be. And sometimes it's tough to even receive it because you might feel like you're not worthy. And so, I don't know. To me, that is something that hits home with me. And I hope that it's something that, again, in that respect, I guess in the deep sense, you want people to come out of it at least open to, we're pretty divided, at times, and I don't know anyone that at one time or another in their life hasn't wanted to have a second chance with something.
Mike, you're right. Next question.
Well, now that you've gotten your first taste of acting, what are your future aspirations? Is it something that you'd like to continue pursuing under the right circumstances, or are you happy to just leave it at being in this one movie?
Well, I think there's a yes on both. I mean, I very much would, I very much enjoyed it. It was so interesting, and again, having to discipline yourself in a way where you take all the attributes that you think and you're somewhat you learned in the WWE, but you can't just go anywhere. You've got to be very disciplined, and that's challenging and a fun challenge. And so, really trying to find out who a character is and exploring that person just on his level, not on yours, but on his level, is an unbelievably fun process. But the thing is, in the movie world, that it isn't up to you. I mean, I would love to continue and do more, and I've had the opportunity to do some small parts since then, and I enjoyed that. But that is a world that you don't work unless someone gives you the opportunity. And so if the opportunities come, and certainly it's something that I feel like I can do well, or at least in the process of learning more, I can still give them what they're looking for and do a good job for them. It is definitely something that I'm interested in doing. But if nothing were to come of it, and this would be the only one that was out there, I'm very happy. Again, even at 51, I still remember being 12 and 15, and then at 30 years old, realizing like, oh my goodness, you've actually done what you were dreamt to do when you were 12. You are now blessed with the opportunity to dream even bigger. And now, again, at 51, I'm given the opportunity to dream even bigger because I've done stuff I never thought I'd do. And so, again, I'm a softie in that respect, that this is unbelievably fun and amazing. So if it were to end, I'd be very thankful that I even, again, got to take my kids to a movie that I'm in. I'd have never thought in a million years, the dude that graduated from Randolph High School would have had that opportunity.
Brendan Gavin, next question.
We've seen other mainstream sports gravitate to professional wrestling. Daniel Bryan was associated with the San Francisco Giants and Seattle Seahawks. The Undertaker met with LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. You met with the Pittsburgh Penguins and now have a movie coming to theaters. Is there anything you think WWE needs to do to continue its crossover success?
I get that's all way above my pay grade. I think they continue to explore those areas. I have absolutely no insight on strategically how they do that or what makes them sort of go one way as opposed to another. Again, as I've been away from the wrestling business, I'm always amazed at how little I sort of knew about the overall. I'm one of the few guys that didn't pay attention to all the outside stuff that we were doing. I mostly focused creatively on in the ring, and after that, I always just laid it in their hands. And so, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm an underachiever, lazy in that respect. But I think the guys are doing movies, and to what you pointed out, there are appearances and things that go on. But again, like the Penguins thing. I mean, my goodness, that wasn't the WWE. That was 100% that was the fans of Pittsburgh and heck, Madden there, and just naming the HBK line and social media and us having fun with it, and that's resulted in a real friendship with Brett Kiesel, and I got to tell you, and also sort of a bond with the city of Pittsburgh and that whole area, because they were the ones that made it happen. Gosh, I didn't do anything except start to respond to it, and then it started this life of its own. And then, of course, and then all of a sudden, heck, I'm watching hockey for the first time in my life, and like, oh my goodness, and understanding that. And so that was one of the, I got to tell you, that's one of the neater things I've sort of been involved in, just because of the way it happened. It was, the word everybody uses now is organic, but it was just sort of a groundswell, a grassroots thing that just sort of happened that I thought was pretty neat.
Well, when we spoke to other wrestlers like Goldberg and Trish Stratus recently, they talked about making their jump into acting as well. They said the wrestling experience helped them and make the transition easier. Do you feel your time in WWE helped you on the set of Gavin Stone? And were there any moments where you felt overwhelmed?
Well, certainly I think it helps you, because one of the first things I think that people notice, even though you would think that, oh, well, of course you are, but that we're comfortable in front of the camera, that things come out relatively naturally for us, and of course, you're in the WWE, I think you're very open to your character, whatever, having an emotion against your current will, so to speak, because you understand that, well, that it has nothing to do with me in my real life. It has to do with this character and something that I'm doing. That he's doing. And so, yeah, I think there are a lot of things that go into it. The one thing that is very different, I think, for many of us, but again, because we enjoy the challenge, I think that it's, again, that discipline of knowing that, that you can start a scene and the director says cut. Well, and then whatever, there's something wrong, you've got to change it, and then you go back and you have other shots at it. In our line of work, it 9 times out of 10, for the most part, it's live, and even the ones that are sort of taped, I guess, to show at a later time, when it's in the ring, it's out there anyway. I mean, you can't really come back out and redo that. So I think that's something that is different, and then trying to keep that energy, scene after scene, and not lose that, I think I'm guessing would fall into a challenge for us as well, because we're mostly used to 1, 2, maybe 2 or 3 takes for somebody doing something backstage. But for the most part, once it's out there, and you have to, live or die with it, so to speak.
Mike Yari, next question.
Triple H recently talked about his vision for you at the Performance Center, being someone who can maybe put the final polish on a talent right before they're called up to the main roster. What interests you most when it comes to working with the NXT talent, and what are you hoping to accomplish in your role?
Well, I mean, that's right now, that is just something that's in the talk about stages, and I think to your point, I think I'd have a better idea as we clearly define it about what it is. I mean, I don't even finishing, polish. That's a pretty vague and broad description. What does that mean exactly? And so, and again, I'm bad about that, because again, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the wrestling business, but at certain times when it's convenient, people talk about things in a very broad sense. And then when you talk about something in a broad sense, they say, okay, but what does that mean? Let's get down into the details of that. So a lot of times it's trying to hit this moving target, and that's not something. Again, I mean, I don't know anyone. If certain things could be taught, well, certainly we teach them, and they just do them. So there are some things that I don't know that can be taught, and so I guess what I'm getting at is, one, having it a little more clearly defined, I think would be helpful. And again, the thing that certainly I enjoy about it, the times that I've been down there, one is the hunger of the student, and that and that beginning process. Again, there's nothing more enjoyable when working with talent, when they that's what they're there to do, which is learn and to grow. Once you get to, say, Raw or the main roster, so to speak, and it's not a knock against talent, but there's a sense of it's done. I've made it. There's a sense of accomplishment there. which is a good thing to have. I always think the worst thing, though, is always, the one thing that greatness, in my opinion, never feels is that it's arrived, is that it's there. I mean, I think, the greats, the Michael Jordans, LeBron James, again, people that reach that status because they continue to try to grow and get better. So working with talent at the Performance Center level and the NXT level, they know they haven't arrived. And so they're very open, very pliable, very receptive of direction. And I think once you go to that next level, that's a little bit more difficult to teach at that point. And certainly from my standpoint, it becomes less fun at that time. And so that's what I enjoy about the Performance Center and the NXT level, is that they are still aspiring to get somewhere. So they're very open and receptive of information.
Brandon Gavin, final question.
WWE has found success with the Cruiserweight and UK-specific tournaments on the WWE Network. What are your thoughts on these tournaments, and is there anything you would like to see WWE do on the network, whether it's another tournament or a different type of show?
Well, I enjoy them. I think first thing, and even though I've technically never been a cruiserweight, I'm thrilled with that because I've always enjoyed that aspect of the WWE, or the wrestling business, whatever it is we're calling it these days. I've always enjoyed that style, and so I'm glad it's getting a spotlight. Now the UK thing, I think it's just altogether different, and I do. I just, in a way, to me, that's in a time where it's very tough to come up with something original. I think that is, and so it's very different, and I think stylistically that's even going to be different. Which anytime you can add that, I think it's enjoyable. To answer your question, as far as broadening the network, I guess the only thing that I would say is, and again, clearly I don't know, they know a heck of a lot more than me, but when it comes to having a network, so to speak, I just wonder, okay, and clearly it's, it's world wrestling, but how much wrestling, so I guess I would, a more original programming, something, again, broadening that aspect of it would be something that I think might help them grow. And again, I clearly understand that I've really, always sort of been in the minority because I didn't know that people could consume that much wrestling. I mean, I've done it for 30 years. I enjoyed it. I was certainly loved it, but I was never obsessed with it. And I don't mean it to be cruel, but there is a difference. And as much as I enjoyed it, you can only take in so much of it. So I guess that's the thing. I think if you broadened the aspect of the network, that might be something that people would be interested in. It seems these days people are, and I know we do behind the scenes stuff and all that. So I don't have any answers for you, but I would say broadening the programming, I think, is always an opportunity to help it grow. But boys, and ladies, I don't know. If I knew, I'd be running $1 billion business. I can assure you, I am not.
Okay. Well, a huge thank you to our guest, Shawn Michaels. Check out his movie, The Resurrection of Gavin Stones, in theater on Friday, January 20th. Tell the fans where they can support you and the movie.
Did you say where?
In theaters across the United States?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's open in theaters across the United States, and obviously, yeah, they go out and see it. It is phenomenal. So, and if nothing else, it's a feel-good story that I think everybody will enjoy.
Well, another huge thank you to Shawn Michaels. We appreciate the time. Good luck moving forward, sir.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me. I appreciate the time.